Hi, I'm Nate Seberg, and this is One Day Ahead. Welcome to the summary and analysis of Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 5. Quick reminder, this is not a spoiler-free video, fair warning, but if you're good to go, then sneak out the window and beg in the streets as we dive into Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 5. This scene opens following Romeo and Juliet's first night together. Talking about teenagers having sex makes me very uncomfortable, but thankfully Shakespeare has spared us the pages that would have come directly before this. The movie doesn't, though. There's a whole scene. They managed to hold on to their PG-13 rating, though, by employing a bunch of very strategic arm placements. The lovers are in something of an early morning stupor, and they are playfully arguing over a bird they heard outside the window. Juliet starts, "Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale, not the lark, that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear." Nightingales, as the name implies, sing at night, but larks sing for the dawn. So Juliet knows it's the lark. We're just doing some fun denial, like don't go stuff. Romeo calls her bluff, saying he's willing to die if it means more time with her. Suddenly the nurse comes bursting in, which, knock. "Your lady mother is coming to your chamber. The day is broke. Be wary, look about." Romeo dashes for the window, getting dressed on the way, and descends the wall. As Juliet watches him climb, she says, "My God, I have an ill-divining soul. Methinks I see thee, now thou art so low, as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Either my eyesight fails, or thou lookest pale." So that's a bummer. Now, I've not brought this up since Act 1, Scene 1, when I warned you that Romeo, who was hiding from the sun, lurking about, being shifty, was quite possibly a vampire. Well, look where his mind goes. Juliet has just said he looks pale. "And trust me, love, in my eyes so do you. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Adieu, adieu." I'm just saying. As Romeo slips away, in comes Lady Capulet. She takes one look at her daughter and mistakes her disheveled appearance to be from continued grief over Tybalt instead of what it really is, sex hair. She says, "Evermore weeping for your cousin's death? What, wilt thou wash him from his grave with tears? And if thou couldst not make him live, therefore have done." Some grief shows much of love, but much of grief shows still some want of wit. This is bad parenting, if you're wondering. From there, Lady Capulet speculates that maybe she's weeping not for Tybalt's death, but for the continued existence of that villain Romeo, who has been banished to Mantua and definitely didn't just sneak out of your house. Lady Capulet casually tells Juliet of her plan to send Romeo poison, then, with the murder planning done, Lady Capulet changes the subject. "Well, well, thou hast a careful father, child, one who, to put thee from thy heaviness, hath sorted out a sudden day of joy, that thou expects not, nor I look not for." "Madam, in happy time, what day is that?" "Merrily, my child, early next Thursday morn, the gallant, young, and noble gentleman, the County Paris, at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride." At this news, Juliet is displeased. "This is too fast. I don't know this man, and I'm not ready to be wed. Tell Dad." But then her father strides in. Let's see how he handles conflict in the Capulet household. "How now, wife? Have you delivered to her our decree?" "Aye, sir, but she will none. She gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave." "Soft, take me with you, wife. How will she none? Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Does she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is, that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bridegroom?" Unworthy? That's not necessary. Juliet says, "Not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that is meant love." Mr. Capulet takes this in, then lays it out with unequivocal clarity. And here means if. "And you be mine, I'll give you to my friend. And you be not hang, beg, starve, die in the streets, for by my soul I'll never acknowledge thee. So do what I say or be disowned." The parents leave, and Juliet turns in desperation to her real mother figure, the nurse, the one who has raised her from infancy. "O God, O nurse, how shall this be prevented? Comfort me, counsel me. Alack, alack, that heaven should practice stratagems upon so soft a subject as myself. What sayest thou? Hast thou not a word of joy? Some comfort, nurse." But comfort is not forthcoming. The nurse does not rise to this occasion, and it is heartbreaking. She sums up the situation as she sees it. Romeo is banished and a murderer. Paul Rudd is here and 2020's sexiest man alive. Just shrug, shut your mouth, and marry Paris. Juliet takes in this advice. Then she forces a smile and thanks the nurse. "Well, thou hast comforted me marvelous much. Go in and tell my lady I am gone, having displeased my father, to Lawrence's cell to make confession and to be absolved." But the moment the nurse leaves, the act falls away. She curses this betrayal and resolves to visit the friar, saying, "If all else fail, myself have the power to die," in case this scene didn't have quite enough foreshadowing yet. And that wraps up Act 3. So if we really want to understand Shakespeare, we gotta get deeper than just plot. Let's do a little analysis. So I want to take us back to the moment after the post-sex stupor, when Romeo is descending from her window. Juliet looks down and says, "Methinks I see thee, now thou art so low, as one dead in the bottom of a tomb." So this is such explicit foreshadowing that that's actually not even the right word. It's like Shakespeare strode onto the stage at this moment, points at Romeo and says, "I am going to kill this guy." But maybe we need something this momentous here because, believe it or not, this is actually the last time that the lovers will see each other alive. So let's talk about Juliet's conversation with her mother because it is really worth looking at. Juliet's mother is getting after Romeo, calling him a villain and planning his literal murder, and Juliet is going to walk a tightrope in this conversation. She is going to remain true to her husband while also giving the impression that she agrees with her mother. Watch as everything she says can be interpreted in two completely opposite ways depending on what you already believe. Here's an example. Her mother just called Romeo a villain. Juliet says, "Villain and he be many miles asunder." So he's not a villain. But put in a pause and you get villain and he be many miles asunder. He is a villain and we can't get to him because he's been banished. But Lady Capulet has a plan for that. She's going to send a ruffian to Mantua to slip him a poison, an unaccustomed dram, that he shall soon keep Tybalt company, and then I hope thou wilt be satisfied. Juliet says, "Indeed, I never shall be satisfied with Romeo until I behold him. Dead is my poor heart for a kinsman vexed." Check out how the meaning of the whole phrase changes depending on what you do with dead. For her mother, it comes at the end of the first thought. She wants to see Romeo dead, and her heart hurts for Tybalt. In truth, she wants to behold Romeo, and her heart is dead at the grief of Tybalt. She goes on, "Madam, if you could find out but a man to bear a poison, I would temper it, that Romeo should, upon receipt thereof, soon sleep in quiet." Temper can mean arrange or modify. So her mom hears that she will arrange things so that he dies, but in truth, she will modify it so that he only sleeps. There are a few more of these, but you get the point. She completely dominates this exchange. What an icon. And while this conversational jujitsu further demonstrates her emerging maturity, her true step into adulthood isn't this, or her marriage, or having all the sex. It comes at the end of this scene when Juliet breaks from the nurse. And structurally speaking, this has to happen because the nurse's very existence is the ultimate symbol of Juliet's childhood. The nurse has been her caretaker for her whole life, and for her to emerge into womanhood, she has to start making decisions that are fully her own. Finally, Mr. Capulet. Man, that guy switched on a dime, didn't he? He goes from concerned parent telling Paris that he must win Juliet's approval for marriage to authoritative adult unilaterally arranging his daughter's marriage to a bullying, browbeating, escalating tyrant who overreacts spectacularly at the first hint of resistance from his daughter. Things go from "no thanks dad" to "we'll then go beg and die in the streets" in like 11 lines. So we don't get any indication of how this intergenerational feud started. We don't know how much of the blame should go to the Montagues, and maybe it's a lot, but after seeing this guy's psychotic behavior to his own daughter, well, I can see how we got here. And that is Act 3. Thank you for watching. Next time we head to Act 4, Scenes 1 and 2. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.